It's the Gear Tester here, and welcome to my initial impressions video on the Mora 612 Classic Craftsman fixed blade knife. There are a couple of reasons that I like Mora knives. First, they're inexpensive, and second, they are relatively durable, and so they make a very good tool. This particular knife has two features that really attracted me to it. The first is the 4-inch blade. That's a long enough blade to do good work, but it's not so long that it becomes hard to manipulate the knife as you do things like carving and do careful cuts, or even maybe as you use it to cut vegetables and fruit, okay? Because I imagine using this knife on backpacking trips, camping trips, and day hikes. I also imagine using it to do very simple carving tasks, okay? And the Mora 612 is a great little knife to do carving with, okay? It carves well. It's very easy to make specific cuts with this knife and to be intentional and careful about those cuts. One of the reasons that that's the case is that it has a relatively thin blade. If I compare it to this Glock field knife, which is a good example of what's being marketed as survival knives in the last 10 or 15 years, or even longer than that, it has a much thicker spine, a much thicker blade, which means it's much more durable for doing things like batoning it through wood, chopping, and abuse, but means that it's not nearly as nice for doing simple carving tasks. It just doesn't do nearly as well, nearly as nice a job as the Mora does, because the Mora has that thinner profile blade. You know, I've actually been using the Mora 612 Classic Craftsman for the better part of 8 months now. And while I've been using this knife, I have carved a number of little items. I carved this kuksa a while ago, and I used the Mora Classic Craftsman to help kind of clean it up a little. I left it pretty rustic still. I also carved these spoons, and I actually don't think I used the Mora on this one, but on these two I did use the Mora to carve them, to clean them up. I didn't use them, of course, on the spoon portion. I used a different knife, actually another Mora, a hook knife, to do those. But to clean them up and to do the basic work on these spoons, I did use the Mora 612 Classic Craftsman. I really like this knife, and my initial impressions through using it are very good. I'm doing my initial impressions video now, even though I've had this knife for an extended period of time, because I'm gearing up for the full review video that will be released here in about a month. And so I'm just kind of going back and rethinking about the things that make me like the 612 Classic Craftsman from Mora. Oftentimes when I use the Mora 612, I pair it with the Bahco Laplander folding saw that you see right here. Oftentimes I'll also use a hatchet or an axe in tandem with the Mora 612 to give me better chopping capabilities while retaining the very fine cutting capabilities of the 612. If you like this video, I would encourage you to subscribe to my channel, because I'll be releasing the full-length review on this knife here in the next month or so. It'll also allow you to be alerted when I do other quality video reviews on topics like shooting, camping, and survival gear, which you might be interested in as well. Thank you very much for your views and your subscriptions. This is the Gear Tester signing off.